Let's dive into the discussions shaping the nation.
Thanks, Karen Corla. Taoiseach, you're the last man standing from the Fianna Fáil governments that blew up the property bubble and then saw the whole thing come crashing down and ordinary people pay the price for a decade or so. But it seems you're committed to going back to the future. You're resurrecting the same policies that caused the 2008 financial crash. At the weekend, it was tax breaks for developers, which played such an instrumental role found by the banking inquiry, the Housing Commission and many others in blowing up that bubble and proposing lifting the rent pressure zones. This morning in the government's counter-motion on housing, it's, quote, engaging with domestic lenders to ensure that the banking sector is appropriately using its lending capacity to support the development of new housing nationwide and, quote, developing new financing sources, especially for brownfield sites and small builders, with support from domestic banks as well as state support of equity investment. A long-winded way of saying you want the banks to lend more to property developers. Taoiseach, you've suffered badly from amnesia in the past, claiming that there was no bank bailout, for example. Have you also forgotten that the banks were bailed out because of billions of euros of bad loans to private developers? When are you going to learn the lessons of your own history and stop relying on the failing private market?
In terms of Deputy Paul Murphy, what I would say to him is, again, you're criticising, I mean, one of the fundamental issues, and I mentioned earlier in leaders' questions, government will put in about 6 billion in 2025. It's estimated that what is required to reach the targets that everybody agrees with will be about 15 to 20 billion. Government will not be able to do 15 to 20 billion on an ongoing basis. It can do 6, it might even do more than 6, but without question, we have to get substantial investment going in the private sector as well. That is the reality, despite all the noise and the politics that's been played with this. I'm more focused on solution-driven approaches. And all I've received in the last 3 or 4 days is just a great opportunity to have a go. Great opportunity to try and associate the Taoiseach or whatever, or his comments with certain positions and so on like that. The Housing Agency has been conducting a review of the RPZ since last year, and it will finish its review at the end of Q1. The Housing Commission asked that we would do a detailed examination, evidence-based, on this German reference pricing system. That should happen because that's what they recommended. We don't have to go with it. At the very least, we should examine it and understand what the pros and cons of such a scheme are. And I simply said, we're going to examine it. And then apparently you can't even do that. It's a bit like your approach to everything. And on the lending, I think banks do need to lend more to builders. And they need to lend more to smaller builders. Financing of housing has been an issue for the last number of years. No point in saying it hasn't been. It has been. It's the #1 priority in society. And therefore, there is absolutely nothing wrong with government officials and people working with the banking system and saying, how can we develop products that can enable people to start building more houses in a financially viable way that will enable people to be able to afford to buy houses at affordable rates and get more supply, because it's all about more supply in the end of the day. Deputy O'Callaghan.
Like, share, and subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.